Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Are You Annie podcast, the podcast where we shine a light on narcissistic abuse, share stories, and offer hope and healing to those who need it. I'm Kyle Hackley, attorney, mother, grandmother, and author of Undercurrent. And as always, I want to remind you, while I'm not a healthcare professional, I am passionate about opening this conversation so that women like Annie Black have a safe place to listen, learn, and even share their own experiences. Today's episode builds on a prior conversation where we explored the healing power of horses. After that episode, I received so many heartfelt messages from listeners who resonated with the topic. It became clear that this is something worth diving into even deeper because for many survivors, equine therapy isn't just healing, it's life-changing. If you've ever spent time around horses, you know there's something deeply spiritual about them. They don't just respond to our words, they respond to our energy, our emotions, and our unspoken pain. That's why equine therapy has become such a transformative tool for survivors of narcissistic abuse. So, how exactly do horses help? And why is equine therapy uniquely suited for healing the wounds left in a narcissistic relationship? Let's get to it. Victims of narcissistic abuse often walk away from their relationships feeling broken, lost, and disconnected from themselves. Narcissists thrive on control. Slowly, they chip away at their victim's confidence, their self-trust, and ability to set boundaries. Over time, the victim becomes emotionally dysregulated, struggling with anxiety, depression, and even PTSD. This is where horses come in. Unlike people, horses don't judge, manipulate, or gaslight. They don't force you to explain your pain, and they don't expect anything in return. Instead, they act purely to what they feel. They mirror our emotions, teaching us how to regulate our nervous system, rebuild our confidence, and establish healthy boundaries. One of the most profound aspects of equine therapy is it teaches survivors how to lead with confidence. When you're working with the horse, you have to be firm, clear, and calm. If you hesitate or doubt yourself, the horse picks up on that energy. The same way narcissistic abusers break down our ability to lead ourselves, horses help us rediscover that power. So what does equine therapy actually look like? It's not just about riding horses. It's about interacting with them in intentional, healing ways. Before you would even think about getting on a horse, you have to spend time with him, grooming him, caring for him. That builds trust and connection. It teaches survivors how to nurture and care for something without fear of rejection or control. For many who have or were trapped in a narcissistic relationship, the relationship itself often feels like love is given and then it's taken away as a form of manipulation. But with horses, the love is unconditional. There are many different kinds of horsemanship, many different kinds of disciplines. One in particular is called liberty work and leadership. In liberty work, the horse is completely free, no reins, no ropes, no physical control. The only way to get the horse to follow you is through trust and confidence. This is incredibly healing for survivors as it reinforces that true leadership isn't about fear or force. It's about mutual respect. It's a powerful moment when a horse, a 1,200-pound animal, willingly follows your lead because they trust you. That bond, that trust is often all it takes to feel empowered. Now, others, of course, want to experience riding the horse. And once trust is established, riding becomes another way to release trauma. The movement of the horse helps regulate the nervous system, calming anxiety and grounding survivors in their bodies. Many women say they feel free for the first time when they ride, as if they're reclaiming control over their own lives. Horses are not just a metaphor for empowerment. There's actually a science behind why horses are so healing. Regulating the nervous system. Trauma leaves the body in a state of fight or flight. The rhythmic movement of a horse helps survivors enter a state of calm, reducing anxiety and reestablishing emotional balance. Horses help us build trust and boundaries. After abuse, many survivors struggle to trust again. They're either trusting too easily or they're shutting down completely. And horses, they teach us healthy boundaries. If you don't respect a horse's space, they'll move away. If you're too passive, they won't respond to you. Learning this balance is key to rebuilding safe, strong relationships with people. They also teach us mindfulness and presence. Horses don't live in the past or in the future. They live only in the present. Survivors often ruminate on past pain or they worry about the future. But with horses, they learn to be fully in the moment. This is a crucial step in healing. I want to share a story with you about a woman I invited over to my home to meet my horse, Red. This woman had been in a narcissistic marriage for over a decade. And when she finally left, she was riddled with self-doubt, unable to make decisions. She was afraid to stand up for herself. When she stood in front of my horse, her hands were clasped so tightly in front of her. Her body was stiff with uncertainty. She wanted to step forward, but something was holding her back. Fear, doubt, the ingrained belief that she isn't strong enough, that she doesn't belong in this space. And Red watched her. His ears flicked forward, reading her hesitation. He didn't judge her, but he didn't respond to her energy either. And at that moment, her presence seemed so small, uncertain, and unsure. She takes a step forward, then hesitates. Red does nothing but stand there watching her. For a long moment, there's a standoff, not of dominance, but of self-doubt. Red was waiting for her to decide to step fully into her own space, to own the space she's afraid to take up. I asked her to take a deep breath, stand tall, and invite him into her space. Then, as hard as it was for me, I turned my back. She didn't need my permission to approach my horse like she thought she did. Finally, I heard her breathe in deeply. I could tell she was letting go of her tension. She takes another step forward, this time with purpose. She straightens up, she lifts her chin and steadies herself. And then my horse moves. Slowly, deliberately, Red takes his own step forward, and then another and another until the space between them closes. He stops just in front of her. He lowers his head slightly, exhaling a warm breath. She reached out, and for the first time, she wasn't afraid. And Red showed her that she didn't need permission to take up space, to lead, to trust herself, to be strong. By the end of her time with Red, she wasn't just walking beside him, she was leading him confidently without hesitation. And that's what equine therapy does. It reminds survivors that they are capable, worthy, and strong, that they can trust themselves. If you're a survivor of narcissistic abuse and you feel lost, consider exploring equine therapy. Even if you don't have access to a therapy program, just spending time around horses can be incredibly healing. Remember, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are capable of healing, of trusting, and of leading your own life. And sometimes the first step is simply standing beside a horse and realizing, for the first time in a long time, you are stronger than you think. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Are You Annie? If this sparks something within you, let me know in the comments. And if you've experienced equine therapy or the healing power of horses, I'd love to hear your story. You can email me, story@areyouannie.com. And before you leave, please hit the subscribe button. You'll help my channel get noticed, because Are You Annie isn't just a question, it's an invitation to join the conversation. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you are stronger than you know. I want you to be tenacious and never give up on what's important to you. Thank you for listening.